What's up, everybody? Welcome back into SSPN Postgame. We're back, Ethan, and I think we're the good luck charm because the Spurs won 132 to 114 tonight against the Orlando Magic in a franchise record-setting performance. 22 threes from the Tank Spurs, Ethan. They took care of business. We got to see a lot of Sandro Mamukelishvili, who I got to see against the Denver Nuggets last Friday live and in person. Watch him get 11 points in the fourth quarter. We saw him throw 2 lobs to Jeremy tonight. Devin didn't have the best shooting night, but it didn't matter because Zach Collins was there. Jeremy Sohan was there. Blake Wesley probably had his best game as a Spur. I know we've said that before, but this was probably really the first good overall game from Blake tonight. We got to see some Dom Barlow minutes. He showed a lot of good stuff with Charles Bassey getting a little bit banked up. Nothing to get too worried about there, though. Did go out of the game with a left knee injury. But all in all, Ethan, an efficient, fluid, awesome performance from the San Antonio Spurs tonight. We were raving about it before we got on air, and now we're raving about it on air. Tell me what you think, my guy.
I mean, I would keep it simple. 2014 ball movement was back. It looked crisp. It looked fluid. We had chemistry. Everybody was moving without the ball, backdoor cut, setting great screens. There was no hitch in the passing. It was just complete, perfect basketball from start to finish. Really, I mean, I know we had a couple moments there when we had some kind of weird, iffy lineups with like Barlow at the center spot with Mamu and not really a scorer.
Some
With Blake
turnovers
Wesley.
and some
Yeah,
stretches.
but for the most part, aside from that little 10-minute stretch or so, it was really just domination by the Spurs. And it starts with Zach Collins, in my opinion, really getting going inside and out, being aggressive, looking for his shot. He had 25 points tonight, 6 boards, 5 assists, and really just playing all around great interior defense as well. And team defense was also finally, it felt like, like a well-oiled machine. There was finally
They were
communication.
connected.
Yes, you put it is way better than I did. But they were on a string. They're rotating well. Everybody top to bottom getting outside on shooters, and then obviously collapsing on our boy. What's his name? Paulo Banchero, who still had 27 points, but 11 for 21. It wasn't a crazy dominant performance from him, and we really limited the rest of his team as well.
Exactly.
Devin had an off night, but it didn't matter because Jeremy had 29 points, 11 for 19, and Doug McDermott had 15 points. He's been on a tear, and like you said, Blake Wesley, 8.7 assists. Finally felt confident. Finally feels like his G League confidence is translating into the NBA. Fine, I think he really needed this.
This was the first time we really saw it
to propel going forward. I think this will be more of a regular occurrence because now he knows he's capable of doing it. And so he'll be able to continue doing it moving forward. But really no weaknesses tonight from the entire team.
Yeah. You mentioned Paulo, just to talk a little bit about what the Magic did tonight. Obviously he got his points. Our man Tanner in the comments was saying, good win against a future MVP. Completely agree with that. He was the number 1 pick for a reason.
Yeah.
But there's been other games where Bol's been able to go off. Franz Wagner's been able to go off. Cole Anthony's had some big games. So I really liked how, we're going to let Paolo, we understand who Paolo is. That's what I felt like watching the game plan tonight. But we're going to make sure that these other guys, they don't cook tonight. And so when you do that and then you shoot the way that the Spurs did and just execute offensively, that's a recipe for success. It's crazy. I knew Jeremy had at least like 20 plus points, but I didn't realize he had 29. That I finally looked at the box score. I knew Zach had 25, but and a couple of those buckets were in garbage time. I want to say like 2 of them were. So really about 25 too, but it doesn't matter. When you get 50 points from Zach Collins and Jeremy Sohan on this Spurs team, it's going to put you in a pretty good place. Our man Tanner's also saying, I think it was a good matchup. Orlando's team defense and offense is generally weak and held up by talent. So, that was one of the other things we were texting about during the game. It's that this was a really good thing to see when it comes to the fluidity of the ball movement. You mentioned, it was kind of an ode to the beautiful game from 2014. Just to see that we can still run the offense like that. Is just a good sign because it's been a rough year whenever it comes to offensive execution. So to just see that these guys have the ability to do that, even though it was against, a lower tier Magic team. Still, more wins than the Spurs this season, but a lower tier team in the league. Just a great sign moving forward. Just reminded people like, hey, this is what a Greg Popovich coach team can still do.
Yeah, it shows that the system and Popovich has never really left. It's just a matter of getting shots to
Right.
fall and finding that chemistry. And it feels like over the past couple games, we're finally getting that momentum back, which is just so great to see. I hope we don't win too many games because I don't want to ruin our chances here.
Hey.
But we're improving. This is what we were hoping to see.
Yeah, and if you want to think about it this way, what? I mean, the Spurs beat the Thunder, and then they beat they beat the or no, not the Thunder.
Nuggets. The Nuggets.
They beat the Nuggets, and then they lost to the Thunder.
Yeah.
So I was about to say you could actually just kind of pretend that that's you beat the Thunder and lost to the Nuggets, but I was trying to do that for this game, but then I realized those two games already happened. So we'll just stick with we don't want to win too many. But want to talk about Devin a little bit more because when people look at the box score, if they don't look at this one, they might be like, ooh, not the greatest game from him. 4 for 11, 1 for 4 from 3, just 10 points. But found a way to get 2 blocks, had 6 boards, 4 assists as well. I just kind of want to say, like, I'm not really worried about it. I mean, if you look at his plus minus, he's plus 14. And if you look at the shots he took tonight, we've had this same conversation about Malachi. And this is just, you can just kind of apply that to Devin and the fact that he's coming off of injury and still has to get back into rhythm. But he's taking good shots. He's getting good looks. They're just not dropping right now. They dropped more in that Jazz game. We've seen what he's done against the Jazz this year, before the big injury stretch. So I think that's just kind of a favorable matchup for him. But Sean and Bill were talking about it all night. It's like he's just coming off injury and the speed feels different. He's just not, completely comfortable yet because that's what it's like coming off injuries in the NBA. But all of his shots that he took tonight were good. Great hop steps, still showed off his bag. They just didn't fall. And they weren't like terribly, off target or anything. I'm not concerned about Devin.
No, I'm not concerned either. And I didn't really notice it as much tonight, but in the previous game, it really felt like the defensive scheme for the opponent. I can't remember who it was that we were playing, but was just really honing in on Devin. Like, just don't let Devin Vassell score, make the rest of the team beat us. And tonight, thankfully, we were able to do that. And I want to give a quick shout out. I didn't realize this, but looking at the box score now, I'm remembering Devonte Graham had 9 assists tonight. He has, over the past few games, I know he came into our team kind of chunking up a bunch of threes, and people were a little worried, like, oh god, he's just nothing but a prolific shooter,
right?
And, inefficient scorer. But he's kind of honed that in a little bit, and he's shown me he has a lot more playmaking skills as a point guard than a lot of us were expecting. So that's a great sign to see. Hopefully that continues and kind of rubs off on Blake, who is not necessarily a natural point guard, but has also grown as a playmaker as well.
That's a good comparison there. And something I didn't necessarily think of, Ethan, but when you bring in Devonte in the Josh Richardson trade, you've kind of got more of, obviously, we hope that Blake Wesley's ceiling is a lot higher than Devonte Graham's, but you kind of bring in a vet that has a similar play style, like can score a lot. And, like you said, he's shown off the playmaking, but not necessarily, known for his playmaking. When you think of Devonte Graham, you think of the 40-point games in Charlotte, right? And when you think of Blake Wesley, you think of 25-point games at Notre Dame in March Madness. So I think you got to get what I'm saying there. And just, adding on to that, he had a really nice behind the back dime to Zach Collins at the top of the key. And he had a couple other games early on before he kind of sat a little bit with Malachi coming back and Trey coming back as well, where he had some 8 assist games, but still for the most part, mainly a scorer. So, we've seen a little bit of glimpses and flashes, but it seems like the more minutes he's gotten with the Spurs, he's kind of understanding the system and his role more. And he's still chunking up shots and making big shots that we need. Without his 15, it's a much closer game tonight. And he did a good job just, running the offense, I felt like. Obviously, Sohan helps out a lot with that too, with his playmaking, and that allows Devonte to play off ball, which we talked about before with the shooting. But love to see 15-9 game from Devonte.
For sure. And another thing that he does, and really the whole team's been doing this, Jude, I don't know if you've noticed, since the trade deadline, when we got rid of Jakob and Josh, it seems like everyone's making a concentrated effort to feed both Zach and Jeremy in either the high post or the low post. And sometimes they play off of each other, where Zach will get the ball at basically the top of the key and dump it into Sohan, who has his man locked in. It's easy layup, and that has opened up our entire game. And it
Yeah.
looks like a completely different scheme almost.
Yeah. I think, it's kind of reminiscent of, I mean, where did the Spurs run their offense through for the past 20 years,
The
Ethan?
post.
Right. Right. So we know that scheme. And then on top of that, we've seen Zach's distributing skills
Mm-hmm.
increase throughout the season. I want to say he had, let's see, he had 4 assists, or no, he had 5 assists tonight with 3 blocks and a steal as well. I want to talk about those 3 blocks and his interior defense, just as a little bit of a side note. That's kind of been
With
his
0
main.
fouls.
Right, with 0 fouls. That's been we've seen the improvement there throughout the season, but this was like, okay, now I'm going to make some plays. I'm not just going to go straight up and not foul. Like now I'm really going to kind of impose my will in the paint, which you love to see there. That's something that, you hope is a continued area of improvement for Zach. And then, of course, we already know Jeremy brings the ball up the court all the time. But the point is, with those two guys and their playmaking ability, it's exactly what you said. Then you can run everybody else off screens on the perimeter. Maybe it's not even off screens. It's, whatever scheme or set Pop's running out there. But when you have those guys who, have a bag in the post, but then also can distribute, it opens up the entire offense, like you said.
And I don't want to disrespect Jakob Poeltl.
Yeah.
But Jakob was not. He didn't have as much of a score. He wasn't much of a scoring threat in the low block. He could pass, and he was a good initiator.
No, he's
but
just not.
Zach Collins, if it's 1-on-1 and it's block, unless it's like Joel Embiid or Rudy Gobert,
right?
It's pretty much barbecue chicken. Like that dude has, he's got that Sabonis Gonzaga, play style where he can take you down, back you down, up and under, post hook, whatever it is, and he continues to show. I think he's averaging 15 or so since we traded Jakob Poeltl. And he's shooting like 54% from 3 as well.
Yeah.
Since that as well. So he's really taken off. And Sohan's numbers continue to just baffle me.
Yeah. Let me see. I know I sent you a tweet earlier about Zach Collins. So just to read that from Tom Osborne from the San Antonio News Express, Zach Collins has hit 7 of his last 12 attempts from 3-point range over the last 3 games. And I want to say this was like midway through the third quarter. So there might have been another 3 in there as well, which is 58.3%. He hit both of his attempts from 3 in the first half on his way to a team best 18 points. So yeah, there were definitely some more points scored after that. But in these last 3 games, I mean, he's really been, it's kind of the result of what you were talking about. It's the result of being comfortable in the starting spot now. And this is just kind of what we've been talking about. I mean, we talked about it last year. We talked about it at the beginning of this year. But just a reminder, like with all the injuries he went through, like now he's finally at like a full year of playing basketball fully healthy. And there's a lot of adjustments that you got to go through. We were talking about earlier. I mean, Sean's talking about how, hey, with Devin, like, it's a lot to just come back off an injury mid-season. There's a lot of stuff that you have to adjust to in the league. So, after being out for that long and not being really fully healthy last season and kind of playing through it, we're just continuing to see his development and kind of his ceiling get raised. I don't know how high that ceiling is going to be. I'm not trying to sit here and maybe say that like Zach's a future all-star or anything. But I think he was a very good investment and a very quality player and a quality big for the Spurs and a quality big specifically for the modern NBA,
Yeah, I don't know about all-star, but definitely
Right.
like on the border. It's because what he does so well is what the Spurs love, which is he's a big guy that can score and pass, and he plays physical. And now he finally has the frame and strength to battle down low. Remember last year? I think he played like 30 games total. He was getting ragdolled. Not the case anymore.
Yeah. And that's we even saw it a little bit at the beginning of the season, but we've seen it continually get better throughout the year, which is, basically kind of what I was just saying there.
Yeah, for sure.
Our man Tanner's in the comments. He's asking if Scoot is an elite offensive initiator his rookie year, would he make the Spurs playoff contenders, assuming Pop can shore up the D? That's a tough question. I still have to say no. I just think it's a little bit too early, but would definitely, when you consider kind of like what we just in the context of tonight's game, if you have somebody like him, replace Scoot or replace Devonte Graham with Scoot. And that definitely makes an impact for sure.
It's tough to say. I would say play-in battle for sure, like in that 10-11 spot-ish. Because then that would mean Trey Jones coming off your bench in that Tyus Jones kind of role for Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
And then we continually forget we haven't had our full team, but for maybe like 5 games.
Yeah.
So if you're saying we got Scoot, Devin, Keldon, Sohan, Zach, and then off the bench we're running Trey, Malachi,
and everybody's fully healthy the whole year.
fully healthy.
That's another key, right?
Yeah, Doug, Mamu, and Bassie, and maybe we add another free agent in summer. Who knows? That's a play-in contending team. I think. I don't even know if Scoot would need to be a prolific scorer right off the bat. Just come in and be that athletic playmaking guard.
Penetrate.
That he is.
And how much would that open up the floor? I mean, then you've got Keldon, Devin, whoever. You got a bunch of shooters around him.
Jeremy's averaging
Zach,
however much now.
Right.
Malachi coming off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of scary. So I don't know. Maybe.
Interesting. Our man Nick asks us, what do y'all think of the recent Millers and Brandon Miller over Scoot talk? I have been seeing a little bit of this on Twitter. What I would say is I think Brandon Miller has entered the fray. Like, he's getting close to that air of Scoot and Wembanyama. A lot of people are like, oh, it's just a 2-person draft, and then you miss out. I would say that if the Spurs get number 3, I actually don't think they're going to draft Brandon Miller because all of the stuff that's happening off the court with him, just because of the Spurs history. Like, I just don't think they're, especially with all the DeJounte stuff earlier this year. I think at that point they'd go with Cam Whitmore or one of the Thompson twins, or maybe not Cam Whitmore, maybe Sohan's old buddy from Baylor, or actually he wouldn't have been on the team last year, but Keontae George. I think they go with somebody else, but if we're not talking about the Spurs specific, we're talking, okay, straight up just talent. I think he's in, like, I think there's not a giant gap between Scoot and Brandon Miller. I can understand both sides. What I would say about Scoot is he's been in the G League for 2 years. So I just kind of give him, I feel like he's been playing that competition a little bit longer, where when Brandon Miller was playing, obviously he's having an amazing season, but when he was playing high school basketball last year, Scoot was in the G League, so that's I would give Scoot just a little bit of the edge, just because I think he's been playing a high level of that level of competition, maybe even higher, for a little bit longer.
Yeah, I would say Scoot as well for everything that you said. I really honestly haven't watched enough Brandon Miller to give an educated answer, but just based on what I've seen from Scoot alone, he has the chance to be a generational point guard. He's already got a man's body. He's playing against grown men.
Did you see that tweet a while back where it was like, Scoot looks like a linebacker?
He does.
Yeah.
He's like an already filled out version of a rookie John Wall. Like, that's what he reminds me of. He's just so uber athletic. I saw the comment. Yeah, so uber athletic, and playmaking is just off the hook. Yeah, that hurts.
Not to damper everything, but during the game, shout out to our man Adrian C. If you're listening on podcast, he just put up in the chat, Pop just announced Bassie suffered a cracked patella. And, during the game, he was kind of laying down after, going for a ball. It was, I think
he blocked it. He did block it.
He blocked it. Right. Yeah. And that's after, wasn't that when Blake got hit in the face?
From
Champagne?
Yeah.
Poor Blake. Blake has his best game as a Spur, like by far his best game as a Spur, and still gets the ball thrown in his face, dude.
Poor dude.
My man can't catch a break. Anyways, though, that really sucks for Bassie, and we wish him, a speedy recovery. Especially just with all his upside, but the one thing. This is just this season. I don't mean to just flip it over and be like, all right, Bassie's done for the year. Now let's not care about him. Like, that's not what I'm trying to say. But like, we saw it with Dom tonight, and with picking up Sandro Mamukelishvili, which I want to just talk about him a little bit more and your impressions of him. We mentioned it briefly earlier. But with having Dom Barlow, like, we have the depth,
Yeah.
Sucks, but we'll just run.
We're Team Tank.
Barlow.
Yeah. And Barlow looked pretty decent tonight.
Right.
I mean, a little maybe physically outmatched at the center spot at times.
Definitely.
But, it is what it is. I'm not too worried about it. Plus, we have Gorgie.
Yeah, and Sandro also, like, with him being
Yeah,
6'10", also that can kind of mitigate a little bit of the size issues for Dom Barlow, because Mamu's 240 and Dom's 220. So,
yeah.
still a little bit definitely undersized. Like, Wendell Carter Jr. wasn't able really to dominate
Hmm.
until
Yeah,
homeboy Barlow came in, and he still played well, but you know, uh, Zach was doing a really good job kind of checking um, uh, Wendell Carter, and
yeah,
when Dom came in, he was able to impose himself a little bit more, just because he's got about 50 pounds on Dom.
yeah,
So
for sure. But to talk about Sandro, 7 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. I mean, the dude continues to impress. I don't know how we just stole him, a 23-year-old rookie who 4 years at, was it Seton Hall? You said.
yep.
Yeah, he already. Sean was talking about it. What you get with a 4-year college player is someone who's already polished and able to contribute immediately. High IQ, 6'10". He can basically play 3 through 5, a small ball 5, because like you say, he's maybe a little outsized against some of the bigger centers in the league. But he's able to move well without the basketball along the perimeter, as well as finish inside. And what impresses me the most is his ability to shoot, but also pump fake, take the ball
Hmm.
off the dribble, and play make for others. He reminds me a little bit. We were texting back and forth, like a blend between like Joe Ingles and Boris Diaw, but obviously he's 6'10" and is built better than both of those guys. That doesn't necessarily mean he's better than them, but from a physical standpoint, he's better than them. So I'm impressed so far. I hope he continues to do well.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny. Before Dom got minutes tonight, I was thinking to myself, I was like, is Mamu gonna ruin this whole Dom thing I've been doing this whole year? But it's
He's looked good.
okay. Bassy came in, and he's saving Dom. He's giving him some minutes. He took one for
Took
the
one for the
Dom
team.
train. Oh my gosh, no! And actually, I was thinking about it. Really, the more realistic question is maybe Dom and Mamu take KBD's spot. I don't know. We'll
Ooh.
have to see. But we've been playing KBD at the 3 a lot. So
He's
maybe
been
we're like,
crushing it at the
maybe
3.
we're like, screw it. KBD's coming back, baby. He's Keldon's backup. Running Doug at
KBD
the
has been
2.
crushing it at the 3 spot, by
Yeah.
the way. Shout
So
out to
he
him.
was sniping tonight. How many? Let's read
4 of
KBD's
6.
stat line for the boys. 14, 5 and 4, 5 of 7, 4 of 6 from 3 with a steal as well. Plus 21, highest plus minus on the team tonight. So yeah, now we have an excess of talent, Ethan. What are we gonna do?
I don't know. Honestly, I hope KBD stays for the rest of his career and we just retire number 31.
Tanner
Bates, yeah.
says KBD team captain at the next ring ceremony.
Honestly,
I came from a 2-way, and now I'm a contributor on a championship team, baby. I've made it.
let him be the next Udonis Haslam, bro. Just like let him stay here for 23 years.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, getting back to Sandro though, like, has a lot of intrigue, like a ton of intrigue. Those 2 lobs that he threw to Sohan, Amizi was mentioning that earlier. His 3-point shooting ability. I really got to see his coming out party because I was at the Denver game where the Spurs beat the Nuggets as the bottom seed in the West, beat the top seed in the West, 128 to 120. And the only reason Mamu, as we know, now is his nickname, came in. Was because Zach Collins and Michael Porter Jr. got into it and both got double techs and got
Hmm.
ejected. If that doesn't happen, Mamu doesn't come in and like match up with Jokic and score 11 points in the fourth quarter, like in crucial moments. Like I think they cut the lead. It was 118 to 116. The Nuggets came all the way back, cut it to 2, and Mamu hits a 3 and like gets a stop. And tonight, also another thing I noticed about him was he got us a lot of second chances. He got a lot of offensive boards,
Yes.
and even on defense, they were 50-50 balls where it was like, it was kind of anybody could go get the rebound. And I saw so many times he just efforted whoever he was matched up against. Um, doesn't he just feel like a perfect Spurs pickup?
He does. He's literally like a prototypical Spurs player.
Yes, exactly.
It,
From being Georgian, from
uh-huh.
from the similarities to not Boban, Bobo,
Boris. Yeah, Bobo.
Boris, right?
We just continue to find these dudes. KBD and Mamu and for a little while Stanley Johnson, if you want to include him.
Our man Nick said, "Oh man, dude, that's so sad."
I
Rip
miss my
Stanley
guy
Johnson,
Stanley.
he played so well, but
Yeah.
now we have Mamu. So, and our man Nick, he said he made an instant impact that Denver game as soon as he checked in. And as someone who saw it in person, completely agree. And I was just like, I can't believe I thought he was like 27. I'm like, oh, he's 23. Let's go. Like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. This was just, this was a good game, Ethan, but we also, we got the Mavs coming tomorrow night.
Mm-hmm.
And although it would be nice if we could maybe get Keldon back tomorrow, we probably want an L, don't we?
We want an L, but honestly, we might get a W. Because
They're struggling.
I don't think Luka or Kyrie are playing.
I heard on the broadcast, I think one of them might be.
One of them might be back.
They were alluding to, I hope they're fully healthy. But I don't know. That was what Sean was saying. He was like, because I want to see. He was like, I want to see both of them tomorrow night. So
I'd like them both to play.
Let me go check the injury report,
just so we can maybe lose the game. But
yeah, we're getting the good news is we're already at 50 losses. So now the wins now are a little bit less significant.
It helps. I think Houston has won like 2 in a row as well. So like,
and we lost 2 to them. That helped.
Yeah, and we're all kind of in the same boat. We're still bottom 3.
Covered our bases for these 2 wins against Denver and Orlando.
I want to lose against the Mavericks because I'll be at the game next Sunday against the Hawks, which I would like to win.
Yes,
since we're playing DeJounte, first game against DeJounte, also in San Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're gonna win another one this week, I would rather it be that one.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I got the injury report, Ethan, and it's kind of not. Also, I don't know. It's kind of good news, but also not good news. So Luka's out for sure. Kyrie is questionable. Christian Wood is questionable, and Tim Hardaway Jr. is day to day. So if those 3 guys play
or don't play,
hopefully we'll lose. But I don't know. The way we played tonight, if we shoot like we did tonight, it might be a problem for the Mavericks.
Let's hope that we do a subtle tank lineup again, where suddenly Pop puts in randomly like
the little
Borgie,
rascals.
Barlow.
That's what I was thinking.
Champagne.
We're gonna throw in Champagne, Mamukelishvili, Barlow, Blake, and who am I forgetting?
Doug.
That was the other one.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Kyrie loves cooking.
That's
the Spurs.
True. Tanner says no shot. Kyrie passes up a game at AT&T. Yeah, that's right. He's gonna give us 50 tonight. The tank will continue, or tomorrow night. The tank will continue. We'll be good.
Yeah, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
We'll see.
We got to get these L's. Let's rack them in.
Oh my gosh. Alrighty, y'all. Well, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. We will be back to see how tomorrow's game plays out with the Mavericks. We'll see, if it's the Spurs getting a big dub because Luka and Kyrie and Christian Wood aren't playing, or Kyrie will play and give us 50. We'll have to see. But if you tuned in today, we appreciate you guys. We'll be back tomorrow night. If you enjoyed what you saw today, don't forget to like and subscribe down below. If you want to stay updated with the show, follow us on Twitter at SSPN on YT. You can watch it there at Jude McLaren and at Ethan_Quintero to stay updated. We appreciate y'all. Go Spurs, go. Good dub. We'll catch y'all.